Welcome to 2015, the age of continuing to remake everything that came out 30 years prior. Did you hear the one about the guy who walked into the studio exec's office and said, I want to remake a 3-hour film that has 24 main characters in this one town and none of the lives really have anything to do with each other except they intersect at some point or another. There's so many films that they could not get away with making nowadays. So today we are talking about Nashville. It's 1975, you're going into the theater for the first time, and you're seeing Nashville, a film that completely polarized audiences but still gathered critical acclaim. It is now considered a classic. Now, I had always known about this film. I'm a huge Robert Altman fan, but I never got around to seeing this film until about, I would say 2006, 2007. And I had seen Gosford Park, MASH, The Player, and a bunch of other Robert Altman films, and I'd always wanted to see Nashville. I thought the premise was actually pretty cool. A bunch of different characters, taking place in this one town, and I was into it. I was sold, but I don't know what. It just took me forever to see it. So I went to the library and rented it back in I think 2006, and it was this DVD copy right here. This is a copy that I bought a couple years ago, but I rented this copy and I watched it, and when I was done, or should I say when I woke up, okay, as you can tell, I probably did not really love it the first time I saw it. I thought it was very long in terms of nothing really going on. I thought it was boring, and I just could not really get into it. And so a couple months later, I just said, you know what, I'm done with Nashville. I tried to watch it, that one time I fell asleep and I woke up, I didn't really know what was going on, and it just was not a great experience. And I was really disappointed, being a huge Robert Altman fan. But then I started to think. In about 2007, I started thinking about Nashville. It stuck in my brain. It was stuck in my brain right in the front. So I decided to rewatch it. I went back to the library and got that same exact copy. And I'm pretty sure it was the same exact copy because it was torn up and scratched, like the copy that I got before was. And so I, woke up in the morning, I went and got my coffee, sat down, and watched Nashville. Now, I went into this with a completely open mind, and I, was trying to take my mindset out of the kind of films that we're used to nowadays. Films that take their time is really how I needed to, set my brain. So I watched it the second time, and I really, really liked it. Keyword, liked it. Or keywords, liked it. And for some reason, I just kept wanting to watch it. So I probably rented it over the course of a couple years, 3 or 4 times from the library. And each time, I really, really liked it even more. It's like, whoa, that's really good, that's really good, that's really good. Oh, that's cool. How was this boring before? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And now, I consider this film a masterpiece. Basically, if you guys don't know, it's about 24 main characters that are just living life in Nashville. Some are there, for music, some are there for political reasons, some are there to visit people in the hospital, some people are there just to be there. And basically you're following 24 different characters around Nashville and kind of centered around the musical event, political campaign that's going on. And so there's not really a plot, but you just are in these people's lives and you're seeing what's happening. Some of them are interconnected, but for the most part, what ties everything together is this political rally. I guess you could say a concert at the end of the film. Nashville is one of those films that you need to let it work. You need to let it flow into your brain. You just need to let it go. And because it doesn't really give you a bunch of stuff to latch onto other than the fact that you're watching all these characters. And the movie is really filmed and told from a very emotional distance from all the characters. I mean, you sympathize with some, but it's very distant. And it actually allows for the final product of the film, which is the climax, to be even more powerful because you could experience the event in a way of saying, oh, well, there's this tragedy or this tragedy. It was horrific, but you could have a different perspective as a whole when you're detached from these characters, because you see something happen and you're like, oh my gosh. And you could see it as a whole instead of connecting with just one of the characters. And I had never seen a film like that before. I had seen Shortcuts, by Robert Altman, and that was probably, it was another one of those films that had a bunch of different characters, but this Nashville is completely different. And so when I found out that Criterion was releasing this, the dual layer format of it, and it comes with the Blu-ray, 2 DVDs, a bunch of special features, I was like, man, I gotta get my hands on that. And I'm so glad I did, because in this film, it just kind of happened. Robert Altman was saying that he just sent the writer of the film to Nashville, and basically she was just writing down a bunch of stuff that happened. When she first pulled into Nashville, there was like a little event going on at the airport. When she left the airport, there was a car accident, and she just kept witnessing all these things, and they ended up being parts of the film. And so basically, from all her ideas came about this 24 character complex story, and basically it just weaves all these characters into one final punch, I guess you could say. It's like making a movie, for instance, say like they were making a movie about the Beatles, and maybe the Beatles were making, they were going on to the Ed Sullivan Show, and there's a few people in the audience, and you're following their lives that week leading up to that historic concert, and that's what ties it all together. That's kind of how Nashville is. You have to let it, let it take its time, or it takes its time. You have to let it kind of, you have to be relaxed. You have to let it be this slow burn of a film. You gotta just soak in all the characters. You have to, because if you don't, you're not gonna enjoy it. Now, I do realize that there's some people that have seen it that love slow movies that just can't grasp, not that they can't grasp this film, but there's some of you that just don't like it, and I completely, understand. Like, everybody has their own opinions, but if you haven't seen Nashville, I suggest you go out there and do it, because it is unlike any experience I've ever had. And if you don't like it the first time, give it another chance. Another film that I've actually talked about like this was Heaven's Gate, which was a film I hated at first. Now it's one of my all-time favorite films. And thankfully to Criterion, we have a brilliant restored copy of Heaven's Gate. And the same thing for Nashville, a film that looked terrible throughout the years because of it looking like faded, and just the original negative was just terrible looking. They've restored it, and it looks great. So I suggest you see this masterpiece. Let me know what you think about it down below. And if you want to see more of these reviews, click the like button, leave your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. About 24 different characters that that's alright, it's 2015. Damn it. Hey. I'm a firm believer that characters that takes place in